The latest development in the Trump indictment out of Georgia. This is from CBS 17. Trump lawyers seek April 2026 trial date in federal election subversion case. That's basically the story. The suggested date is a dramatic counter to the DOJ, to the Justice Department's recommendation last week of January 2nd. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the federal judge. I had this totally wrong. This is not the Georgia case. This is the federal election. Wait, no. This is the federal election case. Why do they say a federal judge? He's asking a federal judge to intervene. Lawyers for Donald Trump asked a federal judge Thursday night to set an April 2026 trial date in the case in Washington, charging the former president with conspiring to. Okay, right. So this is the Jack Smith case. So this is the DC case, not the Georgia case. Man, it's hard to keep track of all these indictments. Woof. I thought this was Georgia.
Then there's 4. But this, I mean, look, the reality is that they've got to figure out something here, because you can't have the leading candidate for the Republican nomination who's leading Joe Biden having to deal with, I mean, they can't have it both ways. I think the one thing that is lost in this whole discussion, and I watched one of the media organizations today try to excuse this, but the reality is every one of those 4 cases happened, the issue that he's being charged with happened years ago. Yeah. Why did all 4 now happen?
It's weird timing.
Really? Isn't it
crazy?
But I'm sitting here watching this Fulton County DA go after him for an event that happened 2.5 years ago. Why did it take? And oh, by the way, it just so happens to sequence right after Jack Smith's case, which just happened to sequence after Jack Smith's other case, which happened to sequence right after Alvin Bragg's case. All of these events happened 2.5 years ago. If what Trump did was so bad, what new has occurred? Nothing.
In Georgia, the court published the indictments against Trump before the grand jury convened.
But that was a mistake.
Sure.
Yes.
First, they said it was fictitious. Then they said we hit the wrong button. Right.
But then why did you have the document up?
Donald Trump came out. I haven't seen the video, but I saw someone tweeting about it. Apparently, Donald Trump said that everyone else should drop out of the GOP primary race. That we should all be united. And let me see if actually let me pull up the. I can actually try and pull this video up. So someone asked. I want to make sure I get the person who asked right. I'll play the video for you guys. I didn't pull it up before, but I'll pull it up now. And let's see where we at. Did it not go through? Maybe it didn't go through on my Twitter. So Trump apparently said that everyone should drop out. And I think that's correct. I believe that all of the Republicans should drop out of the race. Trump should be the only one. And the question is, but what happens when they remove Trump from the ballots in various states? I think Trump should put that decision dilemma to the Democrats to say, there is no one else running for the GOP. It is Biden or Trump or Newsom or Trump, whatever it's going to be. And they would have to remove Republican from the ballots outright if they want to remove Trump. Right now, if there's other contenders, there's a safety net. If it's Ron DeSantis or Vivek or anybody else, if they remove Trump from the ballot, they'll put on some other Republican. So that way the people who are there perceive this option. I think that's the decision dilemma. Either they're stopped from removing Trump, or they're forced to take such an extreme and egregious action, they will shock people to their cores.
Well, I mean, I think the analysis might be right, but the reality is each of these guys who are running think somehow that Trump's going to fall and they're going to be the next person. That's what's keeping them in the race. I mean, they all know. I don't want to get ahead of the debate discussion if we get there tonight, but someone asked, I get asked every day, should Trump go to the debate? And I go, he's at 54% in the Real Clear average of polls. Most of these folks need a name tag for you to know who they are, right? So why should he get on the stage? And the same thing is true. They're all hoping that what you're saying, Tim, happens, that he goes down and they become the number 2 or the number 3. The reality is that's all they're hoping for. They know they can't win. I mean, no one in their right mind, anyone who just has second grade math says, he's at 54, I'm trying to get to 1. I get it. And that's even if you start breaking it down by the states, Iowa, New Hampshire, it's not. So they know their only hope is that he falls down and gets removed or something, or gets.
Vivek has said no way to that. And Vivek is publicly resisting that, saying, I don't want to win that way. I want to win on the merits, right. and that we can't handle this. We can't handle it this way. So the tweet was from Jesse Kelly, but I want to play first the clip from Donald Trump. Here's what Trump had to say.
Great polls just out, leading by 40, 50, and even 60 points. Who expected that? I did. Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, all very strong, but also leading Biden very big. The sanctimonious is crashing. Perhaps the party should come together. People should drop out of the race. We unify, and we beat Biden and the Democrats. They should be easier to beat because our country has never been in worse condition than it is right now. Thank you.
So this tweet from Jesse Kelly says, someone explained to me like I'm 10 years old. How does anyone dropping out help Trump stay out of prison? Please be specific. If everyone drops out, what do we do when the communists in Michigan and Pennsylvania keep him off the general election ballot? My response was it creates a decision dilemma for the Dems. They either cancel the GOP entirely or they keep Trump on. Taking his name off would be apocalyptic. With others in the race, they get a safety net for nuking Trump.
But this goes back to what you said a moment ago, and this is or what we were talking about. Here's the deal. I think that you're right. It's this apoplectic decision. I don't think they care. I think that they will do what, and this gets back to the nut of what I've been saying, is that they don't care. They will do whatever it takes to maintain power.
Then force them into a risky position.
And what happens when this is my question. What happens when we lose, meaning that they say, great, we're going to remove him, we're going to jail him, and then we're going to make sure that Biden wins because
you need to avoid the frogs boiling in the pot scenario. If Donald Trump is taken off the ballot and there are 3 people standing behind him, then the ballot in Michigan still has Republican and Democrat on it. But if the ballot has a single party and no one else, that is such a massive leap. The problem we're experiencing right now, we mentioned this in the beginning of the show, every day people say, oh, that can't happen. That would go too far. Let's go way back in time. And I bring this up all the time. When I said in 2018 that the street conflicts we are seeing between Proud Boys and Antifa were a track towards civil war, and people laughed, saying a bunch of goons fighting in the street is not a civil war. And I said, yes, but the sentiments held by these people will keep spreading, eventually find their ways into government. And they said that will never happen. The security state will not allow it. Where are we today? We're well past that point. Not only did you have the 2020 Summer of Love riots where they tried firebombing the White House. The president was forced into a bunker. You then get January 6th. You then get Donald Trump being indicted several times. Every single time someone has suggested that something like this could happen, people have just across the board, across Twitter saying, no, that'll never happen.
But that goes to the point. That's what I'm saying. You're absolutely right. So why is this time?
Let me explain. Yeah. So what's happening is every action they take is them cranking up the temperature by 1 degree. You don't notice you're boiling. Now that they've indicted Trump's lawyers, like Jenna Ellis was indicted simply for being his lawyer. Counts 1 and 2, being party to a criminal organization and violation of public oath of office or whatever. Quite literally, just being his lawyer. There are people on that indictment list where it's like they reached out to a state elector and said, bada bada. They reached out to a lawyer and said this. No, she's just a lawyer. When people said Trump wouldn't be indicted, Mike Cernovich brings this up. He's like, they're going to indict Trump. All of these people on Twitter, these prominent conservatives, like, no, they won't. It won't happen. Then when it does, Trump gets indicted for what? Tax paperwork? Some campaign contribution? That's not even a big deal. The next day, it's classified documents. Okay, well, that's, it's not that big a deal. Then it's trying to subvert the election. Now they're going after his lawyers. What's happening is they're incrementing it to such a degree that now that they're at the point where they've indicted lawyers for constitutionally protected legal work, people are acting like it's no big deal.
Yes.
So what you have to do is put the Democrats in a situation where they either take 10 steps forward or 2 steps back. And 10 steps forward is like cranking the temperature up past 400 degrees when all of a sudden the frogs shriek and jump out of the pot. Imagine what would happen in Michigan if your run-of-the-mill, bumbling, dotard Republican voter who doesn't pay attention goes and looks at the ballot and there's not a single Republican option, or the president just says Joe Biden. That person goes, what?
See,
I'm not voting Democrat.
This is where I'll disagree with you, because I think that what happens is the media and the establishment and Hollywood and everything else they own says, well, unfortunately, he committed these crimes and he wasn't allowed to do it in the Republican Party, blah, blah. I mean, they do what they do. I get your point. They've turned it up 10 notches.
That doesn't change anything. Make them excise the Republican Party from the election. Force them to outright say you have one choice or no choice. It's the same thing. Make them say it.
Okay.
Make regular people have to.
Let's play it out for a second. They say it. The election happens and they go, see, we did have an election. Unfortunately, the Republicans had nominated a guy that was in jail and we had to remove him from the ballot. And so Joe Biden has been dutifully elected president of the United States for a second time. And, oh, by the way, this is where Kamala's coming in. But
I don't know exactly what happens when they.
But when does this is what I'm trying to get at. When does the frogs jump out of the pot? They go, oh my God, there's only one party and this is what they're doing to us. What's the recourse? How do we undo what they did? This is the problem. Your example about the streets, everything else spot on. And everybody goes, holy crap, but we're not, even for all the stuff that they've done and where we are in society, no one's turning back and saying, we've got to undo it now. Gosh, look at how hot it got in the pot. And I think they turn it up a bunch of notches. We freak out, but then we go, what's the recourse? We go, oh, it's too late. Sorry, next election.
So the reason, I believe the reason Democrats are taking actions this extreme is because they know they've lost the culture.
Yes. But my point is,
but that means what they're doing is irrelevant. Laws are only enforced on the confidence of the people, and they're losing confidence in people. If they take one party off the ballot outright, confidence evaporates overnight.
But see, I think that what your example was right. They don't go, hey, in all 50 states, there's no Trump, right? It's Michigan, Pennsylvania, and so it just prevents him from getting to 270. We did have an election.
Good. So what?
So here's my point. The so what is they declare him. They go through the same exercise where the Congress certifies it, and they said, sorry guys, next time you should nominate somebody.
Won't happen.
You don't think it'll happen?
That will not. No way. We, as bad as 2020 was in terms of how many members of Congress challenged the results and demanded action. And whatever you think of January 6th, we had something on January 6th. 2024 will not go down like that, especially if they remove Trump from the ballot in one state and just one state. My point is this. The only reason they get away with anything they do is because people believe they can. So the example I like to give is that women aren't legally allowed to skydive in Florida on Sundays. Not a single cop is going to arrest a woman for skydiving in Florida on Sunday. Why? Because the culture will not allow it. We have tons of laws in the books that never get enforced. It's illegal to do these drag performances with children in a bunch of these states. Ain't no cop stopping them. Why? Because of the culture. Because the cops are like, I don't want to get involved. The sentiment of the people matters more than what the letter of the law says.
See, just to bring this back though for a second, here's what I think. I get where you're going with this, but I think that there's also a reality of where I, in my opinion, think things are headed now, which is that either in DC or Georgia, they get a conviction. And what they do is they don't take them off the ballot, right? This is my take on this. But they basically create an environment to say, Republicans, you guys, do you really want to elect a guy that's going to be in jail? And so the elections are such that Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin are all within 1, 2, 3, 4%. You don't need to get 500,000 people against the president. You need 10, 20, 40. Michigan was won in 2015 by Trump by 10,703 votes. That's it. They get that they just need a little movement of the needle and they win. They win Michigan. They win. So what I think they're really doing is ensuring that they get a conviction in Washington, D.C. and or in Fulton County, Georgia, and that they can spread the message that you guys are going to elect a guy who can't get himself out of jail. And that to me is actually a worse scenario because they will let Republicans infight on that, whether or not, and they don't have to remove him from the ballot.
I don't see that being as successful. That is a Pyrrhic victory. If Democrats have to win using these methods, they're eroding the American people's confidence in the system to function, and that will destroy them. That's my point.
Correct.
And that's how they lose.
Yes,
they have to maintain legitimacy.
Yeah, but see, here's my point. You talked about the legitimacy. Look where we are now. You pointed out where we are in the streets,
and they're doing it because of their desperation.
Right.
Examples: Bud Light, 30% drop off in their stock, $400 million lost. Target, 27% drop off in their stock. For the first time in 6 years, they're dropping in sales. Meanwhile, Sound of Freedom surpasses Indiana Jones. Disney now facing major boycotts. Richmond, north of Richmond, to debut at number 1.
Yeah.
Because people are starting to push back culturally, and they're losing. So the only thing they have left is raw power. It won't work. So let's ask Republicans over the past 10 years if political power did anything for them with no cultural power.
So on the Sound of Freedom and on Target, just to keep it one-on-one here, you're absolutely right. Sound of Freedom, probably closing on to 200 million right now. And it's people went out, saw the movie, spread the word, we won. Target, same thing. People were disgusted by what they saw, said, I'm not shopping in there. But here's the question. Let's look at Target. Who lost their job?
My guess
one
is
is
a bunch
functioning.
of cashiers. If
But
anybody.
that's my point, is that this is what scares me, is that in any normal world a decade ago, you would have fired that CEO and said, what a moron. You're out.
Yeah, who got fired at Bud Light?
Yeah.
The marketing team.
Yeah.
The marketing
No.
VPs.
Just to be clear, they didn't get fired. They're on leave.
No, they were fired.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
the leave was a lie, reportedly.
fine. But
to
here's my
save
point.
face.
5 people lost, $26 billion lost. I mean, and 5 people lose their job. You've got everyone else in the leadership.
Well, no. Bud Light was forced to sell off their craft brew brands to a Canadian company.
But my point
and
is-
they're shutting down several of their plants and tons of.
okay, so let's take this. If Ian starts blowing up Timcast, you're going to get 20 minutes later he's out. Where's the accountability? I mean, yes, they fired the marketing team. That's cowardice.
They fired the people who did the thing. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.